Hey everybody, it's Matt Williams and Kelly O'Keefe from Brand Federation back with another one of Brand Federation's cold takes. And Kelly, it's a Friday afternoon, a little after 3 o'clock. And what better time of the week or time of the day to tackle an unbelievably heady topic? In all fairness to our viewers, we were going to talk about something completely different about 20 minutes ago. But we got into a conversation before we started recording about an experience that you had, Kelly, with a conversation you had with one of our clients related to the topic, heady as it is, of trust and how trust relates to branding, how trust is changing and the dynamics around who we trust and how we trust them, or more appropriately, don't trust them in our world affects the way we think, not just as marketers, but as people. So we decided to make a quick left turn for this cold take and do a cold take today about the erosion of trust and what it means for us as marketers and brand stewards. What happened that prompted this thought in your mind?
We were digging into some data for one of our clients that is in the field of religion and saw statistics that showed that, maybe not surprisingly, that confidence in organized religion is at an all-time low and continuing to plummet. And in looking at that data, we also saw that they're losing confidence in everything else.
We don't trust anybody. The numbers are sobering.
I mean, this is a stone cold take because the numbers have dropped to the lowest levels ever. You can go to Gallup and you can look at confidence in institutions, and you're going to see that borne out. These are terrible numbers where everything from organized media, the Supreme Court, medicine, doctors, big business, small business, and everything in between, everything is collapsing. Small business, much better than big business, by the way, on trust. But almost all of the institutions are tracked. And what we're seeing is people turning their backs in terms of confidence on all of those.
So we can we can feel that happening in our everyday lives, right? We can feel it in the conversations that we have about all those institutions whose trust levels are dropping. But if we draw a ring around this conversation and talk about it as it relates to marketing and brands. Brands are proxies for trust. That's the currency of the realm when you're managing a brand.
Absolutely.
What do you think of the implications for us as brand strategists when we think about the dying of trust?
Well, it's very bad news. First of all, the currency that we deal in the world of branding is trust, as you articulated it so well. We're trying to build confidence in companies, and we're trying to help consumers to be confident about what the company tells them, and to be confident about what they do, and to be confident that the motivations behind what they do are admirable motivations as opposed to the opposite.
Yeah.
And right now, consumers aren't buying that in huge numbers. I mean, in most of these categories, you have 20 to 30% of consumers at best who have confidence in what these organizations are doing and saying. And if we don't trust what organizations do and say, learn a lot about that situation that branding people can help.
Yeah, I think of it as there might have been a time when levels of trust were higher, where you could translate that to people will tend to give you the benefit of the doubt and believe what you say. I
Yeah.
trust you, therefore I'm not going to validate things and I'm not going to verify things that you say. I'm going to say, okay, you're probably being upfront and honest with me. When trust levels fall as far as they've fallen, because the Gallup numbers are seriously scary, nobody's giving anybody the benefit of the doubt. In fact, they're going to assume that you're probably lying to them. And it has massive implications for the role of advertising in your media mix. It has massive implications for how much money you spend to tell people things, because now you're going to have to say, the only way I'm going to overcome that hurdle, or the premise that I have to base for my advertising spending on, has to be, okay, they don't believe me, but if I tell them often enough and in a compelling enough way, I can change their mind. And that's a big proposition. That's a big high hurdle you have to clear. I think it also goes to the place that says, if somebody doesn't believe what you're saying, it puts the onus on you to prove it with your behavior. And the only way you're going to get somebody to trust you now with numbers like this is to behave your way into their belief, right? You have to behave your
Absolutely.
way into their trust. You can't just talk your way into it. And that has huge implications for how brands work too.
This is how humans work. If we can't trust words, we go to actions next. And we've all done this. I had a son who was, saying, "Hey, son, is your homework done?" "Yep, Dad, it's done." Again and again and again. And I went to the teacher's meeting and the teacher's like, "Yeah, I haven't seen homework in a week and a half." So I didn't believe him. Next time I went to say, "Is your homework done?" He said, "Yes." "Of course, that's not enough anymore. Now I have to see the homework
Sure.
and I need
Yep.
evidence."
Yeah.
Behavior is the way that brands deliver evidence of intent.
Yep.
And the trouble that we're having is the behavior has been problematic as well. Jon Stewart did a discussion on his new Daily Show just a week or so ago. You can find it online, where he talked about how corporations had jumped into DEI programs and things like that after the murder of George Floyd, and how many of them have been laying off in masses the DEI experts that they put on staff at that time. In other
Yep.
words, they made a knee-jerk reaction move to demonstrate positive intent. And then as soon as they thought the consumer's back was turned, they said, "Oh, we didn't really mean that. That wasn't truly important to us."
Yeah, in a situation like that, what they're doing is basically assuming that there's some trust that they can take advantage of by saying nice things and, that putting out some really flashy advertising that tells you not to worry about it and they've got it taken care of, and writing a good press release. But behind all that stuff is behavior that contradicts the words that they're using. In a high cost environment, you can trade on that. It's not going to last for very long, because pretty soon your behavior and the knowledge of that behavior is going to catch up to your brand, and you're going to end up right where we are, which is where people are saying, you know what? You used to tell me everything was okay and I believed you. You told me everything was okay and I looked into it and I realized it's not. You're liars. Now I don't
Right.
trust you. Now, no matter how much you tell me everything's fine, I don't believe you until you show me the homework. And that means that in an environment where trust has fallen so low, the marketer's first job is to take their strategy and activate it in behavior, not
Yeah,
activate it in nice words, good press releases, and happy advertising.
that's exactly right. You have to activate it in consistent behavior. And that consistent word is important. It's not a one-time deal. It's not a, "Hey, look, I did it already. I don't have to do it again." No, you have to consistently do it, because
Yeah.
we know that sometimes organizations demonstrate positive behavior as just throwing a bone to an audience that they think they want to attract, but that behavior isn't real. And more often than not, those things not only blow up on them, but they blow up on the rest of us. When Volkswagen told us they had low emissions in their vehicles, and then we found out that they had just literally cooked the books, that wasn't true. It didn't just blow up on Volkswagen and they fired their CEO when that happened. It also blew up on every other car manufacturer who was publishing similar data about their emissions. Because if the consumer thinks, "Well, car companies lied to me," they're not isolating that belief to Volkswagen. They're generalizing those beliefs. And the same is true when Wells Fargo was signing up false accounts for their customers, accounts that customers never asked for. When the consumers see that in their bank, they don't think Wells Fargo sucks, but they also think every other bank sucks. They
Yeah.
just generalize that input and start to feel like, "I can't trust banks." So there's a big burden now to have consistent behavior that demonstrates positive intent and demonstrates corporations are in it for the right reasons.
Yep. I think it's a really interesting implication. And we've all known, like, you can feel we're operating in a low trust environment, but when you see the numbers that you cited with that client conversation, it really drives home the idea that the marketer's first job is to activate their strategy in behavior. Change the way you act, because we have backed ourselves into a corner that says the brand can't distract people away from bad behavior anymore. Maybe there was a time when it could. It never should have been used to do that, but it was a lot. And that's not going to work anymore, because we've now eroded the level of trust that people have had for years in brands and in lots of institutions, to the point where you can't distract them with that stuff anymore. And now you have to start with behavior.
Yep. I'll boil it all down for you guys. In an environment like this, the only way to build a stronger brand is to be a better company.
I think what you just said is the best way to boil down the job of marketing today, is to use your knowledge of the consumer, of the marketplace, of your values, of the convictions you hold as a company to make yourself a better company based on that knowledge. That's really powerful. That's actually an uplift to me.
And the marketers who are watching this, the brand strategists, the people in our profession, you have influence on the organizations that you work with. Use that influence to actually help them become a better company. They will thank you for it, and their customers will thank you for it.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for being here. Thanks, Kelly, for going with us on this little left turn that we did. And thanks to Paul, our colleague who's running this session, for being nimble. And thanks to you for sticking around and joining us for this conversation. If you have thoughts on trust, the erosion of trust, what a brand's responsibility is in an environment where trust is eroding, we'd love to hear from you.